allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start at 8:59. All commissioners are present. This morning we have some employee years of service recognition. So we'll start with those. We have William Briggs from Recycling for 5 years of service to the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Thomas Button for 15 years, and Tom, I understand, is on vacation. Jacob Henry, 10 years. He works for the jail. And Luann Myers for Register and Recorder, 10 years of service. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
And Wendy Yadlowski, she works for the District Justice, 5 years recognition, and Wendy's not able to be with us this morning either. So we'll make sure we get those. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve number 5.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hall to approve the minutes of the September 28th, 2016 Commissioners meeting, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve item 6.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hall to ratify or approve the following cash disbursements journals, 928. You want me to read all those or not? Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Warren. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve 7.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hall to ratify and approve the following seminar requests. Celine Herman, Sheriff's Department; John Record, Sheriff's Department; Deborah Strong, District Attorney. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to approve item number 8 is listed on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Warren to approve the hiring of Stacy Thatcher, Susquehanna, to the open full-time position of Second Deputy Chief of Courts at $10.85 per hour, 6-month probation period for the bargaining unit contract. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve item number 9 is listed on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Warren to acknowledge the appointment of Jessica Zawitsky, New Milford, to the Susquehanna County Task Force effective October 12th, 2016, per the recommendation of District Attorney Klein, seconded by Commissioner Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How about comments on that? I'd like to know which task force that is.
I believe it's the Drug Task Force. Is that correct?
Because it doesn't specify.
Item number 10.
Make a motion to approve item number 10, but remove ratify and put in approve.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Warren to approve the appointment of Lana Adams of Dimick as Susquehanna County Open Records Officer effective November 7th, 2016, seconded by Commissioner Hall. Questions and comments? All in favor?
Wasn't she in a different position?
Chief Clerk.
Yeah,
She
was-
is, but this is another duty that she'll be in charge of.
Oh.
So she has more than one duty?
Chief Clerk has a lot of duties.
Oh, okay, so she's doing records officer? Okay, that's the one that you discussed last meeting, right? Lena
Yes.
Adams.
Mhm.
That was making more money than you guys.
Yes. Yes, you like pointing that out, yes.
Yes. So she's
Okay.
got several jobs, looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve 11.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hall to sign the 2017 Thompson & Johnson Preventative Maintenance Agreement. This agreement is for the Toyota forklift and the Toyota clamp truck located at the recycling center. Cost per service call is $242. Seconded by Commissioner Warren. Comments and discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve 12.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hall to sign the 2017 Creative Information System Service Agreement. This agreement is for technical support for the weigh scale software at the Recycling Center for the total cost of $567.15 for 2017 calendar year. Seconded by Commissioner Warren. Comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comment. Yes, Vera.
I'd like to know if there's any updates since the last meeting that we had concerning the incinerator, any communications about it to any group, DEP, Tyler Corners, any updates that you can give us?
I have none. Commissioner Hall or Commissioner Warren, do you?
I have nothing. Everything's been posted on the website.
Well, has anything new been posted on the website since the last meeting?
I do not believe so, but you can check the website.
Well, I find it difficult to find. It's not easy to find, and I would like it to be a little easier for especially the average person to be able to find any updates. So you're saying there's none since the last meeting?
Not that I'm aware of.
On
None?
the county website, go to Economic Development
Uh-huh.
and then go to, what is it, Proposed?
Industrial Park.
Yeah.
And
It's just 2 clicks and you're there.
Yes, Stacy.
if I may answer, I do believe since the past meeting, the letter from the governor's office, chief counsel, has been posted. I think it was
Right.
within a matter of days from that
Right.
meeting, but I think that does fall into that time period.
And,
So,
and if that's the case, what did the governor's letter say for those of us who did not access that? So what can you say about that letter from the governor's office and chief counsel?
I don't have anything to say about it. Do you?
Have you read it, Betsy?
No, I don't believe I have. That's on our website, because I was reading that stuff on there. But
You're saying it's on the website, Stacy?
I believe it is.
It is.
I did not read that letter.
So who has read it amongst the commissioners that can give us a synopsis of it, of that letter?
Anybody?
Mary Ann,
I read it, but
what do you recall from the letter?
it has to do with the air quality.
And what,
And it has, is that the letter we're talking about?
The one that, yeah, it was about the proposed ordinance.
And it said that we couldn't do it.
the governor's office counsel said that the county could not do it? Could not do an air ordinance, or municipalities also?
Well, it goes into a lot more detail than that.
Yeah,
And I suggest
absolutely.
that the best way to understand it is go online and read the letter.
Well, I'd like the commissioners who have read it to be able to explain it to their constituents so that we don't get just directed to the site. If you've read it, what did it say that
Well,
you
maybe
can
my
explain to?
interpretation of it is not what your interpretation is going to be.
Right, well, can you then preface it with my interpretation is, since you read it?
No, I'm not going to say anything about it now.
And why are you reticent about saying anything? Is this a legal matter? Are you concerned
No,
about
no,
legal
it's public, it's a
repercussions?
public matter. You can go on there and you can read it.
Okay. Any other questions?
For clarification, this letter you're talking about, is that the one that was received from DEP? Not the governor's office, but it's DEP,
Council.
the DEP council. Okay, so I thought that should be clarified, and that letter was posted 2 weeks ago,
Approximately.
approximately 2 weeks ago. On your website, if I may, I'd like to ask for some clarification. You said you go to economic development and you click on industrial park, and there's information about the incinerator. Is it possible to separate those two so that it reads incinerator and people know exactly where to go to, and we don't sugarcoat it with the word industrial park?
I think it's something we could look into. Is it something we could look into? Having it separated?
Yeah, because
with
I think
our IT people?
I think that's more transparent.
Okay. So you want it titled incinerator instead of under economic development?
Yes.
Mhm.
We'll talk to our IT people, we'll look into that for you.
You can keep it under economic development, but just don't put it under industrial park. It should be listed as an incinerator.
But it's part of the industrial park.
Most people don't have an aversion to an industrial park, but an incinerator is the issue.
Yes.
I also want to say, as far as the industrial park, I understood that why is it titled industrial park? I understood there is no industrial park proposed by the county. Why do you even use that term? Do you have an industrial park designated in that area? Does the county have one?
Can you answer that question?
The county hasn't designated anything as an industrial park. However, we did have a study done several years ago that did look at the possibility of putting in a business park or industrial park on the 81 corridor.
Mhm.
And that site is a site that was picked up in that process as far as a possibility for an industrial park. So, you know, there's a site that has been looked at by investors as an industrial park, yes.
Well, then I would just suggest that since you haven't designated it as an industrial park, to please not use that category, since we're concerned about the incinerator. That's the only thing that's right now being discussed and proposed on some level, and that we need to have that incinerator title there, so it's not confusing, because that is confusing to me, to see the term industrial park as if that is a designation by the county, a definite designation.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just want to backtrack here. A few years ago, when there was a discussion that along 81 there could be an industrial park, when that decision was discussed, was there any exact zoning as far as how many acres could be used for industrial? Was there any stipulations on what the county wanted to do if there was a possibility we could have an industrial park? Was that discussed at all a couple of years ago?
No, the county didn't have, the industrial park study was just to look at the opportunities for investors,
Okay.
to see if there was any sites that would be worthy of an investor coming in to create an industrial park. The county has never stepped foot into saying we're going to create an industrial park or do anything with an industrial park.
Well, since we don't have an industrial park in the county right now, and by not having any exact ideas of what we would like to have in an industrial park as far as regulations, before we have more land possibly sold or whatever, because we tie the hands of the planning commission. When we don't want zoning, and a lot of areas don't want zoning, but if we don't have laws and regulations in place in our county, and then when someone comes in and buys a large purchase of land, a couple of farms and whatever, and then they go to the planning board, and the planning board can say, well, you have to have this septic system, this well, or whatever. But if we don't say it's within a certain amount of acres or miles of 81, then the planning board has no choice but to allow that person to build. So maybe, I don't know what the steps would be, I don't know if the commissioners or the planning board or who would make regulations that would kind of allow our county to prevent someone coming in and putting a very large industrial park in. I'm not talking just about the incinerator, about anything. It's an idea. I don't know if it's possible, but I don't know how that would be, who would take care of that to kind of protect ourselves in the future. I'm looking in the future, because that's what we have. We seem to race to problems when they're on fire. Maybe it's best to do it before the smoke begins.
Do you have any comments on that? Okay.
Isn't that something that probably is going to be addressed in our new comprehensive plan that hopefully is going to take place within, I don't know, the coming year? So I went back and you posted the comprehensive plan from 2000 and whatever. It's quite complex, and it spells out exactly the future that Susquehanna County is looking towards. Of course, it has nothing in there about the gas industry or anything, so it desperately needs to be updated. But I think that's something that potential developers would definitely read. They'd probably read it from top to bottom. I read it for 2 hours and I didn't even make a dent in it. So we're still pursuing that funding for that plan, aren't we? The new comprehensive.
Yeah, it's already been filed for, it's already budgeted.
And again, the zoning goes back to the township level, which we did send out letters to the townships asking if they wanted us to get involved in that. And for the ones that have responded to us, for the most part, it's been a no.
And there are already, I think it's eight municipalities that already have their own planning and subdivision codes.
Oh, okay, so then it goes to the township to make those decisions.
Right, but understand, what you're asking for is, you're asking for rules to be able to take and tell businesses whether they can come or not come, or where they can be or whether they can't be. So the problem with that is that's really not something you're allowed to do. You can't discriminate against people because they're a business and you don't want. If they comply with all the federal regulations, state regulations, and the zoning regulations, then they're allowed. And even if they don't, and even if you put a zoning in your community, and the business wants to come in, if they can fall under the certificate of public necessity, they could come in anyway.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, because you want industry to come in, you want to promote jobs and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You want to kind of decide what kind of industry, but I'm thinking about smaller industry would come in if you had zoning for smaller industrial parks. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to.
Well, in a theory, that would be great. The
Yeah.
problem in trying to get industry in here is we really don't have much to offer them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the problem since day one, is that every time we try to get somebody that's on the hook to get them into our area, they end up either in Conklin or they end up in Scranton.
Yeah.
And we can't compete with Conklin giving them the land, giving them, $70 million worth of tax breaks, or with Scranton that's getting stuff from Harrisburg to allow them to give them huge tax breaks. We don't get those opportunities.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, the small business is what you end up with, the mom and pop shops that are trying to expand to stay in business. And the question is how long can they stay in business before they end up selling or going out of business?
Vera?
Since we don't have much to offer them, then why is this incinerator pushing to come into this county? Why are they finding it of interest?
Well, I would imagine, Vera, because of the natural gas and the low price of natural gas and the abundance of it right at that exit.
And don't they have gas? Don't they have natural gas in Scranton?
Well,
And in
Not
Binghamton?
at the same price,
So that's the main draw for it?
I would imagine.
So there's no tax breaks that they're getting? They're not asking for any tax breaks?
Not that I know of. We don't even have a plan to know what they're doing yet.
Well, we do know they want to have an incinerator, right? An
All right,
industrial.
Listen, we've been down this
We've
road
been over it.
1,000 times.
What we know is what's on the website. We beat this and beat this and beat this. We have no new information. Yes.
There was a proposed expansion at the I-81 of the exits, and I was told by someone that PennDOT has suspended that. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, Alan, do you?
To my knowledge, and I sit on Incinerator Regional Transportation, my knowledge is that project has not been suspended. That's a $35 million project that's supposed to start, I think, next year. And along on top of that with a $70 million project that goes from the state line to New Milford, the total rebuild of 81 in both directions.
So that's 35 million at the Gibson exit?
Yeah. And that's a new exit ramp going south and replace the bridge and some upgrades there. And I think when I last saw the last plan, it looks like the road, instead of going in front of the Flying J like it does now, will go up behind the Flying J, between the Flying J and the Blueberry Farm.
Really?
Repeat that, that's not, I mean, the highway itself will go behind?
No. The
Oh,
road, the state road that's in front of Flying J, where when you get off, you have that little road there and you come up and
okay,
cross
right.
over. That road there looks like it's going up behind Flying J, from what drawings that I've seen. And that was a year ago in Milford Township. They had a meeting there with the drawings there. And there was a public meeting on it.
So they're gonna do eminent domain on the Bray Farm?
That I do not know.
Oh, he will probably sell anyway.
If he can sell.
Okay, is that it for public comment then? Yes, ma'am?
I have a question in regard to the air ordinance. It was publicly stated that the county cannot do anything at this level to protect the citizens. And I want to know exactly where that information came from. Was that through legal counsel that you found this information out? And if so, can you please post that? Because from my understanding, you're going off of what the DEP has said, which is a regulatory commission, not a legal commission. So I would hate to see, the public think that you are not going to do anything to protect us.
Well, I think that's a harsh statement, but, here's the bottom line. On our website is the letter from DEP, and yes, they are a regulatory agency that has the control from the state as to enforce and to take actions as they so see. And they've been given that power by the legislation, which is the state representatives that we have. They are the controlling body, and they have the ones to say what will be and what will not be. And the letter that we've got, which is posted on our website, comes from DEP's counsel, their attorney, saying what we can and cannot do. And what it basically says in that letter is, no, we cannot pass an air ordinance to stop this and put monitoring and require monitoring. And that's what it says.
They're actually saying that we cannot
Yes.
have monitoring?
Yes.
So you're expecting this company or any other organization, any other corporation, any entity whatsoever to come in and pollute to the standards of the government, and there's absolutely nothing that the residents can do?
Well, there's a lot the residents can do.
Such as?
First of all, pollute to the government standards. I don't know if you even know what the government standards are for this.
They're pretty poor.
Well, the government standards that are in place and what they're dealing with, DEP does the monitoring, and they do the monitoring with the companies. They're the ones by state law that are the only ones that have the authority to monitor. The counties and local people do not have the authority to do it. So as far as what you can do, there will be public hearings if it ever gets to that stage. Again, the land's not been purchased. There are no plans. Nothing's been submitted to DEP. Nothing's been submitted to anybody. All right now as it is still conceptual. Nothing has been sent forward. So once it does get sent forward, there's a huge long process that it goes through. And when it gets into that process, there'll be lots of opportunities for the public to take and be in contact with DEP and voice their concerns and try and do things.
So from the county's perspective, you're just going to sit and wait and see what happens? Is that pretty much your position? Is there anything that you can do proactively for the protection of the 40,000 people that are under your jurisdiction? Because this is not going to, like we're dealing with this right now, but what about in the future?
We have no control over what's coming out of the compressor stations. There's 40 some of them right now. I live across from one. And I know, I read the permit when they built it, what they were going to be putting up in the air. County has no authority to do anything about it. It's the Department of Environmental Protection that is the ruling body on what goes up into that air. And unfortunately, that seems to be our only recourse as far as an incinerator or compressor stations, whatever. Air and water, that's DEP, and that's our only avenue of how we can do anything about it.
Sandy?
I have a question, and I don't know, I can direct it to you, but it may not be applicable, and you may have to refer me to someone else. Do you know if New Milford Township had the opportunity or the authority to put a referendum on the upcoming ballot regarding the incinerator so that the public who comes to vote could voice their opinion?
I do not have that answer. Do you, Mr. Hall?
My understanding, because that question's been asked, there's only certain things you can put on the ballot for a referendum question. My understanding is that's something that does not qualify.
That's
I'd just like to add, I was a township supervisor for quite a few years, and what you just said is unfortunately true. Certain things like whether you're wet or dry township, a couple other things.
So, and to finish the conversation that you started, the answer is you need to contact DEP, you need to contact your state legislators, because the ones that make the legislation and the rules for DEP are the ones that are at the state level.
Just one point, I pulled up the letter. One point of clarification is that it did come from the Governor's Office of General Counsel upon referral from the Department of Environmental Protection.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So we're all basically screwed up.
Well, you can keep going to DEP and contacting them and emailing them and calling them and going to the public hearing, but that's about.
But we've done that with the compressor stations,
I
and nothing
know,
was
Vera,
done. Nothing was changed, and it was just protocol. They just
Also,
went through the
administration
motions.
rather than- This one seems to be a little more open. They'll send representatives out and answer some questions.
You know, we'll all die before that election.
Well, I know, but you have to think of the future then. You just keep on hammering away.
Yes, Vera?
Yeah, the other question I have in that governor's letter from the general counsel, did it just state that the county, the question I have now that Alan is back, in the governor's letter from the general counsel, did it just state that the county has no power to put in an air ordinance? Or did it also include municipalities in that letter?
It's municipalities and counties. But what it does say is, yes, there are certain things we can put an ordinance in on. We can stop you from burning your garbage. We can stop you from open fires. We can stop you from your wood-burning stoves outside.
So all the stuff that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter as much.
Wood-burning stoves, if you don't live next to one, then
I live
you
next to one,
enjoy that.
it's not a good thing.
That's
I live
right.
next to one.
There's far more pollutants coming out of that than you can even imagine.
Goes, right. And then the question I have is also the comment I want to make is that since they included both in the general counsel letter, we also have other attorneys who are saying the opposite. We have attorneys who are interpreting the law and saying that an air ordinance can be made stronger than what the DEP requires, and that can be done at a municipality level. So this is actually, I want to emphasize that when the general counsel speaks for the DEP, that is an interpretation, and he or she may not be correct. And that other attorneys and firms that are well-versed in environmental law also are saying the opposite. So we have to go by, we will see what interpretation actually holds in court. So that would be the other consideration. And I'm not done too. I'm interested in the industrial park also in South Montrose. Anything else happening there? Is that still developing? Any interest by industry there in South Montrose?
I have heard nothing. Have you?
Nothing there, okay.
Make a motion to
Okay,
adjourn?
well, I have a comment to make. I just want to say to my fellow commissioners, thank you very much for putting your faith and your confidence in me to put me in the chairman position, and I appreciate that. And I just want you all to know it's an honor and privilege to be serving our county, and I just wanted to thank you guys. I appreciate that, and we're a good team. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming today. And I'd like to make a motion to close this meeting.
I already made it.
Oh, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Area.